time to talk about ferret environmental needs. So there's the habitat, and then there's a few other things to round out the habitat, and those are the primary environmental needs. And some of these things will also kind of go under behavioral or maintenance, but the first thing we talk about is the house itself. So one thing that you'll notice about pretty much all ferret-specific habitats is that they are vertically oriented. Ferrets like to climb. And so if you got a wide, low habitat cage, that's not really gonna meet that instinctive need to climb. So ferret-specific habitats are always gonna be taller than they are wide. And when you look at the size of a habitat, one thing to remember is that the habitat you get today could house more than one ferret if you size it properly. So this habitat here is 24 inch by 24 inch and it's 42 inches tall. You could comfortably house 2 or 3 ferrets in this long term. Whereas then you have this one here, which is the same height, but it's a 30-inch length and it's not as deep front to back. So it's a slightly different configuration. This is probably a 2 ferret habitat. And then you've got habitats that are designed, I guess, to house 1 ferret. So you have this style here, and this style is basically just not that large. So this would be, you're gonna get 1 ferret and call it a day. Here you are. My suggestion is always get a larger habitat. There's nothing wrong with extra space and this ability to get extra ferrets later. You don't know what you're gonna want in the future. You don't know what you're gonna want in 6 months, a year, and you may find that your ferret gets lonely. So having the ability to not have to buy a whole extra habitat, just get it once, that's a pretty good idea. That would be a good suggestion. So if you think about like, where in your home are you going to place this ferret habitat? Ferrets do sleep a lot, and then they're gonna want to come out and play and be active. You know, they'll sleep 18 hours a day, and then they're gonna have, you know, a 2 to 4 hour window where they're gonna wanna get out and play. So your ferret could go in a bedroom, your ferret could go in a family room. You just have to kind of think about what you wanna do with it. It's definitely important that wherever you put it, you're gonna be able to supervise the ferret when it's out of its habitat. Ferrets should not free roam your home because they just are too mischievous. They will get into vents, they will get under your furniture, they'll get behind things, they'll get under doorways and into appliances. So if the ferret is out of its main home base cage, you need to keep eyes on it. That's very important. Other habitat features, you're gonna have ramps or slides to get from level to level. So this has a hole in the shelf, a hole in each different shelf, and they can climb up. This style here, a lot more vertical space from the top shelf down. It gives you the ability to have things that hang. Ferrets do like to sleep in a hammock. So this comes with a very basic hammock, but you could add an additional hammock. With each additional ferret, they should have their own sleeping space. Even though once they're friends, they'll probably all sleep together in a pile. I would do a hammock per ferret in your environment. The other thing that's very important to look at with a habitat is how are the doors constructed. With this style habitat, there's a top door, there's a door at 2 different levels on the front. And ferrets are pretty tricky. They will try to figure out how to bust open a door. So this door features an up and under design and additional latches back here. This is a very wide door to allow you to easily get the ferret in and out. You see the hammock's attached to it, so you can't open it all the way right now, but you could potentially swing that all the way open, easily get a ferret in and out of here. And then to secure it, you've got your side latches, which just grab the bar. And then this front latch here, you have 1 latch point and then you go up and under, so that if the ferret is pushing up on this vigorously, he's not gonna be able to actually get that up and under position achieved, so he won't break out. Same thing with these side doors. To really secure them, you'll go up and under and latch that piece under that top bar so the ferret doesn't bust his way out. So that is how they keep this thing totally secure. With this style habitat here, you've got that very same up and under latch style for a top door here, except that instead of that up and under latch being attached to the swinging part of the door, it's actually attached to the stationary part. So you secure it down, and then you bring this piece over as an additional clamp point. It also has a door on the side, which is a spring that comes sideways. So that's the ferret has no access to the opening mechanism, so that's very good. And then this one features a ramp The idea with the ramp is that if your ferret is going to be coming out of the habitat to play, but your ferret is litter box trained, a ramp style door at the base allows the ferret to go back to its habitat to go potty. So that's pretty good. That's a nice feature. This one also features a wide grate on the bottom here. Whether or not you use that's going to be up to you, because you could take that grate out and the ferret would just be on the lower section of the cage and no big deal. You're going to be putting litter boxes in here. You've got room in here to have a litter box on the bottom shelf and a litter box in the middle area here if you wanted to provide a few different spots for your ferret to go potty. So you have those things there. These are also all on wheels, so that's very helpful. So if you have a house where you might, okay, we're going to take the ferret out of my bedroom, we're going to move it to the living room because it's playtime, you have the ability to easily do that with a habitat that's on wheels. All of the ferret-specific habitats are going to have a bar spacing that does not allow the ferret to get through. You do want to make sure that whatever sort of habitat you are acquiring for your ferret, that they have taken the size of a ferret's head into consideration, because they can get into very tight spaces. So you wouldn't use like a large parrot cage with very wide bar spacing for a ferret, because they'll probably get out of that thing. Finer bar spacing is fine. So some multi-level habitats, which are also designed for chinchillas, as long as they're physically large enough for ferrets, that would be okay. So this is sort of the habitat features. Vertical orientation, you want something, ideally, you want to think about the future. If you source a habitat that's bigger for later, that's a great thing. Habitats that have multiple doors at multiple levels to access no matter where the ferret happens to be is a good idea. And then recognize that our habitat selection will vary. So from moment to moment, we may have a different assortment of cages in the store. We can also order additional options if you don't see something you like. Once we have the main cage habitat figured out, we have to round it out. Now some habitats will include some of these pieces like water bottles and dishes. Other times it's an additional add-on. We do offer a homecoming kit where if you get that kit plus a habitat, you got a good start. But individually, food dishes. Two options we recommend. You have a heavy ceramic non-tip. This has got a flared base. So if this is sitting on a surface that is solid, for instance, if you put this in here on a shelf, the ferret doesn't have a real good ability to get under this to tip it. So that's pretty good. However, if they push it this way, they might push it off the shelf completely, and this is somewhat heavy. So you may put this at the bottom of the habitat if that's a concern. The other option is just get one that locks in place. So there are different configurations. This particular one just goes through the sidebars. You've got a clamping piece. So you'd have the clamping piece on the outside of the cage, you screw it down, and then the crock cannot be dumped. So that's helpful. So those are a couple good options for your dishes. Then you've got water bottle options. Initially, you might provide a water dish and a water bottle, but long-term, a lot of ferrets will just drink from a water bottle, and that's nice. There's different features for that as well. The most durable option is a glass water bottle. This is going to be chew-proof, and it's going to be easier to sterilize because it's glass. And you've got a little green, in this particular brand, there's a little thing that floats in here to show you where the water line is at. So there's different brands of glass water bottles, but they all pretty much have something in there to float to tell you where the water line's at. It's got a fairly heavy duty bracket, a spring, and a lower clamp bracket. So this bottle sits on the outside of the cage, and then you would rotate the nozzle to point in. So that's pretty nice too, because the ferret can't mess with it in that configuration. So that's the glass option. The other nice option, this one here, has a top that you can unscrew, and then you can take a pitcher and refill this water bottle from the outside. Now you still want to clean your water bottle periodically, but this is nice particularly if you have a couple ferrets in here or 3 ferrets in here that drink a lot of water. Being able to refill the bottle quickly and easily with a pitcher is pretty convenient. This also features a nice clamp style bracket to really hold the bottle in place. A lot of basic bottles are also options. This is a very basic bottle. Not too much to it at all. Features a little wire to clamp it. So with this one, you got to be strategic where you put it. You got to have this base part, a horizontal bar. And then you would take that wire and go around to secure the bottle in place. So it's a basic water bottle. There are definitely better options, but it'll get the job done initially, whatever you want to do. You may get this one to start with and decide, nah, that's not it, and then get a nicer one later. Up to you. Those are the water bottles. When you go to clean your habitat, you know, you'll have litter boxes typically. Sometimes you'll put some of the paper-based bedding on the base of it. After you dump your litter boxes and dump the base, you'll have a residue of waste. So we have our Moss Hollow Habitat Cleaner. This is ferret safe. You don't want to use a lot of harsh chemicals around a ferret because ferrets are sensitive. They have a sensitive respiratory system. So this is enzyme-based, removes the smells of the waste. So basically you take the bulky waste out, you spritz, let it sit 5 minutes, and then use paper towels or microfiber towels to wipe away, and it makes your habitat smell fresh and clean. The other things then to round out the environmental needs would be additional hammocks. There's lots of different choices for hammocks. The large ones that look like creatures are pretty fun. So you've got an octopus, you've got a monkey, you've got a gorilla. There's all different types of fun animal-themed hammocks. You also have a bed that is designed to hang in place. That's pretty nice. And then you just have like the basic vinyl hammocks, like what is included with the 42-inch habitat. It's ideal to have at least one hammock per ferret. And so again, thinking about the size of your environment, where you're gonna hang everything, it should be a consideration as you look at what is the habitat you'd like to choose for your ferret to live in. Then the other thing about your ferret is that it does require some veterinary care. You're definitely going to want to take it to the vet for a rabies vaccine after you acquire it. And then, you know, maybe annuals, just like a dog or a cat. So, a ferret carrier would be a nice choice, so that way you can easily bring it back and forth to the vet. So this is one style. You could also use a hard-sided dog carrier or a soft-sided dog carrier, and that would be okay as well. So those are your environmental needs for ferrets. If you have any questions about any of the choices, the environments, or any of the other environmental factors, please come into the store and speak with a pet counselor.